the moment you stop needing control from others, is the moment you become harder to control yourself. Imagine two people sitting in the same meeting. The first person speaks for 5 long minutes. They explain every idea. They defend every point. They answer questions nobody even asked. The second person says almost nothing. They listen, they watch. When they finally speak, the room becomes quiet, and when the meeting ends, people follow the second person. Why? Because power often begins where explanation ends. Most people think power looks loud. They think it lives in confidence, status, or the perfect words. But the people who truly understand power know something different. They know that before anyone listens to your words, they are already watching your behavior. That silent judgment starts long before the conversation does. And once you see that, you begin to understand what Machiavelli was really pointing toward. Not a guide to becoming cruel, not a guide to controlling everyone around you, but a guide to seeing the invisible game that people play every single day without realizing it. The strange part is that this game has not disappeared. The clothes have changed, the offices have changed, the technology has changed. People have not. We still look for confidence, we still test trust, we still notice weakness, we still react to emotion. The stage looks modern. The rules feel ancient. Most people never notice these rules because they are busy trying to be noticed. That is the first mistake. Power is not only about what people see, it is also about what you refuse to give away. Think about the last time someone challenged you. Maybe it happened at work, maybe it happened in school, maybe it happened at home. Before you even answered, something happened inside your mind. You felt pressure. You wanted to explain. You wanted to prove yourself. That feeling is completely normal, but it also reveals something important. The need to explain is often stronger than the need to understand. And when that happens, you stop observing. You start performing. That is exactly where influence begins to slip away. Here is a simple example. A manager asks for ideas during a meeting. One employee starts talking immediately. They fill every quiet moment with more words. They hope that speaking more will make them look smarter. Across the table, another employee stays quiet, not because they have nothing to say, because they are paying attention. They notice who interrupts. They notice who agrees too quickly. They notice who looks uncomfortable. They collect information before offering an opinion. By the time they finally speak, they understand the room better than anyone else. The difference was never intelligence. The difference was observation. This is the hidden status game that almost everyone plays without knowing it. People think they judge others by what they say. In reality, they judge them by much smaller signals. How quickly they react, how comfortable they are with silence, how they handle pressure, how badly they need approval. Behavior speaks before words ever have a chance. That is why someone can walk into a room, say very little, and still leave a strong impression. It is not magic, it is not luck, it is quiet consistency. Now here is the question most people never ask. If everyone is watching everyone else, what information are you giving away every day without even noticing? Every fast reply, every nervous laugh, every attempt to prove your value, every emotional reaction, each one tells a story, not always the story you wanted to tell. This is where many people misunderstand confidence. They think confidence means always having the answer. Real confidence often looks different. It looks comfortable with uncertainty. It is willing to pause. It is willing to think. It is willing to let silence exist without rushing to fill it. That kind of silence makes many people uncomfortable, and discomfort is revealing. The moment silence enters a conversation, people begin exposing themselves. Some rush to talk, some become defensive, some seek approval, some reveal frustration. Silence does not create these reactions, it simply uncovers them. That is why careful observers learn so much without asking many questions. They let people reveal themselves naturally. This does not mean becoming cold or distant. It means becoming present. Instead of thinking about your next sentence, you begin noticing everyone else's patterns. That small shift changes everything. Because power begins before communication. It begins with attention. It begins with attention. It begins with seeing what others miss. But there is another lesson hiding beneath this one, and it explains why so many people lose influence without ever realizing it. Because sometimes the biggest weakness is not speaking too much. It is becoming too easy to read. The price of being easy to read, most people think silence is the lesson. It is not. Silence is only useful when it helps you see more clearly. Used the wrong way, silence does nothing. In fact, it can make you invisible. That is the mistake many people make. They hear, speak less, so they stop talking. But inside, nothing changes. They still chase approval. They still worry about what others think. They still hope someone notices their value. Power does not come from saying fewer words. It comes from needing fewer reactions. Think about what happens after someone criticizes you. Maybe they question your work. Maybe they doubt your decision. Maybe they make a small joke at your expense. What is your first instinct? For most people, it is simple. Explain, defend, prove. They believe that if they can just find the right words, everything will be fixed. But something else is happening. While you are trying to protect your image, you are quietly revealing your pressure points. You are showing exactly what affects you. Behavior, someone challenges you. Hidden reason, you fear losing respect. Strategic response, pause before you respond. Ask yourself one question. Am I answering to create clarity or because I need approval? That one question changes everything, because people are always learning from your reactions. If every small criticism pulls you into a long explanation, others begin to expect it, not because they are cruel, because patterns become predictable. And predictable people are easy to read. Imagine sending someone a message. Hours pass, there is no reply. Your mind immediately starts creating stories. Maybe they are upset. Maybe they are ignoring me. Maybe I should send another message, then another, and another. Without realizing it, your emotions have taken control. The silence did not hurt you. Your imagination did. The strongest people are not the ones who never feel anxiety. They simply refuse to let anxiety make decisions for them. This is one of the quiet lessons hidden inside Machiavelli's ideas. People often expose themselves before anyone asks them to. They explain too much. They apologize too quickly. They react too fast. Not because they are weak, because they are uncomfortable with uncertainty. But uncertainty is part of every relationship, every negotiation, every friendship, every workplace. Learning to sit with that uncertainty makes you harder to influence, not because you become cold, because you become steady. Here is something that sounds strange at first. The person with the strongest opinion is often the easiest person to control. Why? Because everyone already knows where to push. Everyone already knows what will trigger them. The person who cannot pause has already surrendered control. Most people spend years trying to appear powerful. Very few spend time becoming emotionally difficult to move. That difference changes everything. If these quiet ideas help you see people differently, you'll probably enjoy what we explore here on Ilyu Codex. Each video is built to help you understand the hidden patterns behind everyday behavior. But there is one mistake almost everyone makes after learning this lesson. They think observation means watching other people. They forget to watch themselves, and that is where the real advantage begins. Observation is information advantage. Walk into any crowded room. For just 1 minute, say nothing, simply watch. You will notice something surprising. One person wants to be the center of attention. Another agrees with everyone. Someone interrupts every conversation. Someone laughs before anyone else. Someone checks their phone every few seconds. These are not random habits. They are small windows into bigger patterns. People reveal themselves through repetition, not through grand speeches, not through perfect words, through ordinary moments. This is why careful observers often understand people faster than those who ask endless questions. Questions can be avoided, patterns cannot. Behavior. People repeat the same habits. Hidden reason. Habits reveal priorities, fears, and emotional needs. Strategic response. Observe the pattern before judging the person. Over time, the pattern becomes clearer than any single conversation. Imagine a team working on an important project. One person promises everything. Another quietly finishes every task before the deadline. Who would you trust? Most people say the second person. Not because they talked better, because consistent behavior speaks louder than confident promises. Observation teaches you something words never can. It separates image from reality. That is why wise people rarely make quick judgments. They know first impressions can be acted. Consistency is much harder to fake. Here is another quiet truth. People often tell you exactly who they are, just not with their words. Someone who blames everyone else for every problem is showing you how they avoid responsibility. Someone who cannot celebrate another person's success is showing you their insecurity. Someone who becomes angry over small disagreements is showing you where their emotional balance breaks. You do not need to expose these people. You only need to notice them. Observation is not about becoming suspicious of everyone. It is about becoming less surprised by human nature. The more you understand patterns, the less you react emotionally to them. And that changes your decisions. You stop chasing approval from people who never planned to give it. You stop wasting energy trying to convince those who have already made up their minds. You stop confusing attention with respect. Instead, you become selective. You listen more carefully. You choose your words more carefully. You choose your battles more carefully. At this point, we have talked about influence. But influence is not the real lesson. The real lesson is something far more valuable, because there is one force that destroys more influence than poor communication ever could: emotion without control. And this is where most people completely misunderstand Machiavelli. Why emotional people lose power? Most people think power means controlling other people. Machiavelli would likely say that is already the wrong place to begin, because before anyone can control you, something else has to happen first. You must lose control of yourself. That is where influence quietly changes hands. Think about the last argument you had. Maybe it happened at work. Maybe it happened with a friend. Maybe it happened online. The words were different, but the pattern was probably the same. Someone said something you did not expect. Your heart started beating faster. Your mind rushed to defend itself. You stopped listening. You started reacting. In that moment, the conversation was no longer under your control. Your emotions were leading it, and emotions move much faster than wisdom. This is why emotionally reactive people often feel exhausted. They are constantly fighting battles they never needed to enter. Every criticism feels personal. Every disagreement feels like rejection. Every delay feels like disrespect. Life becomes a series of emotional emergencies, but the situation is rarely the real problem. The reaction is behavior. Someone challenges your opinion, hidden reason. Your mind treats disagreement as a threat to your identity. Strategic response. Separate your opinion from your value. You can change one without losing the other. That single habit creates more emotional freedom than winning 10 arguments. Imagine someone publicly questions your work during a meeting. One person reacts immediately. Their voice becomes louder. They interrupt. They try to prove they are right. The room no longer focuses on the original issue. It focuses on their reaction. Another person hears the same criticism. They pause. They ask one simple question. What makes you see it that way? The room changes, not because they avoided the problem, because they stayed bigger than the moment. That pause is not weakness, it is control, and control creates trust. People naturally place more confidence in the person who remains steady under pressure, not because they always have the right answer, because they show they can think before they act. That is a rare skill. Especially today, we live in a world that rewards instant reactions. One notification, one comment, one headline, and people respond before they understand. The faster the reaction, the less space there is for wisdom. Machiavelli observed something similar centuries ago. People are often driven by fear, pride, hope, and emotion before they are guided by reason. The tools have changed. Human nature has not. This does not mean you should ignore your emotions. Emotions carry important information. Fear can warn you. Anger can reveal that a boundary has been crossed. Sadness can show what truly matters to you. The mistake is allowing emotion to become the decision maker. Feel it, understand it, then choose your response. There is a quiet difference between feeling an emotion and becoming controlled by it. Strong people still feel frustration. They still feel disappointment. They still feel doubt. The difference is that they do not immediately hand those feelings to the people around them. They let the emotion settle before they let it speak. That delay protects their judgment. It also protects their influence, because every emotional reaction reveals something. It tells people what scares you, what offends you, what pressures you, what can distract you. The more predictable your reactions become, the easier it is for others to anticipate your behavior, not because they are manipulating you, because your emotions have already written the script. This is why emotional discipline is not about hiding who you are. It is about refusing to let temporary feelings make permanent decisions. Here is another quiet truth. Many people spend years trying to become more persuasive. Very few spend time becoming less emotionally predictable. Yet that may be the greater advantage. A calm person is difficult to rush. A patient person is difficult to pressure. A thoughtful person is difficult to confuse. Not because they know everything, because they create space between what happens and how they respond. That space is where judgment lives. That space is where wisdom grows. And that space is where quiet power begins. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, do not ask yourself how to win the argument. Ask yourself something much more important. What reaction are they expecting from me? Then choose a different one. Not to play games, not to appear mysterious, but because your peace is worth more than a quick victory. The strongest people are rarely the ones who control every room. They are the ones who refuse to let every room control them. And once you understand that, one final question remains. If real power is not about dominating people, then what was Machiavelli actually trying to teach? That answer changes everything. If this video has changed the way you see people, then it has already done its job. Here on Astroskilu Codex explore the hidden patterns behind power, influence, and human behavior. Not so you can control other people, but so you become harder to control yourself. If that journey speaks to you, consider subscribing, because understanding people is useful, but understanding yourself is where real power begins.